So wait. You believe in evolution, and you are an atheist? Oh, that is so funny. I'm going to destroy your worldview, Mr. Atheist. Ha 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 ha. Atheists love to bark out loud about evolution being a fact but support their contention with no evidence at all. Unless I provide evidence for pink elephants, I look ignorant. That is how you look when you talk about evolution being proven when there is no evidence at all.
There is lots of evidence. Look. Here is the genetic evidence tying us and chimps together to a common ancestor through ERVs. Here is the fossil record. The fossil record is so good that evolutionary theory now has predictive value in discovery. They can successfully predict transitional forms at different geologic layers. So, between the varying bodies of evidence, it is no wonder that consensus on the theory of evolution is 99.87% amongst all the Earth and life scientists.
Aha. You've fallen into my trap. I love it when atheists fall into the traps I set. I'm so clever. You are stating that you believe only what the scientific consensus believes, correct?
I accept things for which there is sufficient evidence. The greater the claim, the greater the body of evidence needed. Consensus of this degree is only possible with such a body of evidence. So yes, I rely upon the consensus of scientists, and my own reading on the subject to determine what is true.
Ha. Then by the same belief in the scientific method you just said, you lean towards the belief in the soul, afterlife, and the general creator God. It's great to welcome you to theism.
How is that? There is no broad scientific consensus on the existence of the soul, or the afterlife, let alone on a creator God.
Sure there is. Almost all near-death experience researchers agree and hold the opinion that those are all real. Welcome to the belief in God. So based on your reliance upon scientific consensus, you are now a theist because that is what the experts say the evidence shows. You can't argue with the consensus of near-death experience researchers because if you won't accept key for their work you can't use it for evolution.
I'm afraid you've overreached. First, science, real science, takes no position on the supernatural. Most just disregard your silly superstitions. Second, no peer-reviewed paper in a legitimate journal has ever declared these experiences to be proof of the afterlife, a soul, or God. Third, while some legitimate research does take place on this phenomenon, and it does get published in journals like The Lancet, most of the experts you speak of are simply not. They are roundly and loudly criticized as cranks and attention whores who publish quantum flapdoodle and make grandiose claims on the flimsiest of data sets. Peer review works because when the scientific method is followed, they do not work backwards from predetermined conclusions, and the peers are expected to attack the research. These organizations of fringe pseudoscience practitioners publish only to each other, much like the creationist journals put out by organizations like Answers in Genesis. By putting the pseudo into science this way, you may as well suggest I believe in Reiki and young Earth creationism, because they have peer review within their own circles. So far neuroscience hasn't made a determination on what causes these things, though there are some things they've been able to demonstrate. Yes, there are things we don't know.
Aha. You don't know. That means that since all the NDE researchers agree and you don't know, that it points to proof positive that there is a soul, an afterlife, and a God.
Fallacy 1. Argument from ignorance. What you say does not follow. You're deciding that since we don't know, therefore God, afterlife, soul. Bad argument, further compounding your mistake. You don't know the scientific method. Otherwise you'd know why these self-peer reviews are nothing but circle jerks and not genuine science. Fallacy 2. Dunning-Kruger. You don't know how much that you do not know, so you've fallen into the trap of overrating your knowledge and drawing unwarranted conclusions as a result. Fallacy 3. Confirmation bias. You've also only read the circle jerk rags that publish the results of their pseudo-scientific efforts, only reading the things which will not threaten your beliefs, and which reinforce what you already think, is a great way to find the wrong answers to everything. Anything else?
But, the Lancet is a legitimate journal. They did this research and they agree with me.
No, they didn't. Yes, they did publish the research of some neuroscientists on the subject. But I read their paper and their conclusion was that there was no conclusion. They said more research was needed and suggested things to try next. That is how real science works.
No. This is confirmation bias of the religion of atheism. And neuroscientists aren't experts in near-death experiences. What does neuroscience have to do with it anyway? You need to go to church now. You're a theist. Peer review exists for near-death experiences and all those experts agree with me. Quit your atheist religion, you hypocrite. You fell into my trap and I win because I have peer review. What does the brain have to do with death anyway? NDE experts publish to each other, that is all that matters. Just because these people researching NDE are not specialists in the brain, where all of our perceptions, memories, and senses are interpreted into information, doesn't mean that we should listen to neuroscientists instead of NDEs. Just because the overwhelming majority of scientists call it pseudoscience and NDEs don't follow your scientific method.
Yes, that is exactly why we should listen to neuroscientists instead of circle jerk and NDE pseudoscience, because science follows an evidentiary path through a demonstrably effective process. One your pseudoscience does not follow. Yours begins at the conclusion and works backwards. That is the opposite of how things actually work in science. So no, contrary to your claim, I am not obligated to convert to any branch of theism.
You only love science when it supports you because you're a dogmatic believer in the religious cult of atheism following brainwashing which doesn't allow its sheeple to think.
Like playing chess with a pigeon. It doesn't know the rules of the game, or how the pieces move from point to point. But that does not stop it from knocking the pieces over, and strutting around on the board as if it had actually won. Then flying off feeling unjustifiably cocky.
This has been another episode of Reasonable Doubt put on by the Church of the Basement Dragon. Thank you for watching, and also, thank you for thinking.